Yeah, so I just want to thank everyone here for coming today. There will be more people trickling in as the events proceed. One of the things I wanted to say, just as a few words of introduction, is that the name of this event today, of this small seminar, which is going to feature 3 presentations that are interrelated. It's called The Universe, Creativity, and You, an optimistic look at life in the 3rd millennium. Now, we have entered, as of the last few years, the 3rd millennium, and it's an important question that a lot of people have forgotten to ask is what will the rest of the 1,000 years that are going to come up look like? Obviously, we won't be there for the majority of that time, but certainly the effects of our lives, of our thoughts, are going to play some form of a role. Even the absence of our participation has an effect on the potential for the lives of those yet unborn. So it's a worthwhile question. What will that world look like? There's a lot of potentials, some good, some not so good. And it's not uncommon for people, especially young people in our world, to recognize that we live in a very materialistic age. It's a consumer society. It's not uncommon for people to criticize the focus on material comfort and things that people want to fill the spiritual vacuums in their lives with. It's common to criticize these things, and nobody really likes it. They can sort of sense that there's something wrong about that. But it's not the acknowledgement of the problem which is an issue. What's a deeper issue is that, for the most part, there's a consensus that that's just the way things are. That's the natural order of things, that mankind is, by our nature, selfish, materialistic, and we're just seeing things the way it is. As unfortunate as it is, we're just seeing things the way they are. And so there's a lack of optimism, a lack of ability for people, and again, especially young people, but people of all ages, to really use their imagination in a way that is really tied to problem solving, which is what the best use of the imagination always has been. It has been tied to making things better in some way. That's sort of the purpose of why the Rising Tide Foundation was created to begin with. And what we're trying to do is to invoke that sense of optimistic imagination in people that's tied to a sense of reason that recognizes how bad things have been, can be, and are in many ways right now, but also with that recognition to think about changing it, to use our free will and our ability to see ourselves within a context in order to influence it in a better way and not just be voyeurs or participants watching a train wreck and forgetting that we're on the train. So less than 2 weeks ago, there was an anniversary, and I think everyone here knows what that anniversary was and what it entailed. It was on July 21st, and we were given an opportunity to experience again and celebrate a time when that pessimistic modality of thought was not the norm. You guys know what I'm talking about here? Mm-hmm. Okay. Who doesn't know what I'm talking about? Who's mystified? So the space program, the 50-year anniversary of the landing of a man on the moon, it wasn't just that event, right? It was that event was an effect of a broader field of optimism and a trajectory that society was on that was tied to the idea that human beings actually have a power of destruction. I mean, it was the middle of the Cold War. The danger of thermonuclear war and the negative use of the atom was not a secret. But there was a sense that our higher nature, our truer nature, was tied to something much more beautiful. And that was the effect of that. So today, what we're seeing is an interesting phenomenon, where after 40 years of stagnation, of living in a consumer society that isn't really going anywhere, what we're actually beginning to see is a renewal. There's a reawakening of that spirit that was lost back in the 1960s, of an enthusiasm for space. We're seeing nations around the world that are really enthusiastically embracing commitments towards going to the moon again and staying. Most of these nations obviously going to the moon for the first time. Going to Mars. There's active programs around the world right now, both in the United States as well as in Asia and Russia, even in Africa, to have serious programs for Mars development, for developing a broader understanding of the evolution of our solar system and of the galaxy. These are all, it's very optimistic, but here in Montreal, a lot of the fact of this renewal hasn't quite broken through the general field of the culture. It's not something that is in our media. When you turn on the TV, you don't see the developments of the Indian space program, which is really blossoming like never before, what has been signed by various nations, Russia, China, the European Space Program, to a space agency to set up a lunar space colony. We don't hear about these things. Most people don't even know that Canada is playing a role in the Lunar Gateway program. They don't even know what the Lunar Gateway program is. So what we want to do is take advantage of this momentum that is beginning to build and really awaken that inside of us here in the audience so that we can transmit that to people around that we come into contact with. We will be broadcasting this online as well, and these videos will be made available to people watching it on social media, and they can spread these. We're going to have three presenters, the first being Cynthia Chung, who will be giving a presentation on an aspect of astronomy that most people don't realize has been a major force in the last millennium, and before that even, in the last 6,000 years. She's going to look at some deeper philosophical questions that often go overlooked in our world. Following that, I will give a presentation on the space program and the broader aspects of cosmic radiation. And we're going to follow that up with a presentation by Cuauhtemoc Hernandez. Cuauhtemoc is studying on advanced designs for modular reactors that are going to be very much in use as we develop Arctic development strategies going into the 21st century. And he will be speaking about the atom in ways that I think everyone here really needs to know, both in terms of what is the atom's power to sustain human life in a better way, what is the science of fission, of fusion, and what are its applications as the next future of energy.